What is going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to The Drop Spot, the official Fortnite talk show. It's great to be here. It's great to see all of you guys. What's going on? How's it going? It's great to hear all your voices, see your faces, see the seats on the bus all filled up. Oh man, it's great to be back. There's so much to be talking about here on this talk show, but of course, I can't do it by myself. I need some help from my friends. I got two very special guests coming in. It's none other than LifeWithPanda and SanchoWest. My friends, welcome to The Drop Spot.
What up? It's good to be back. So exciting to see the Fortnite fam, and of course, being in the game. Of course, we're all hanging out all together and talking about FNCS. But I really do appreciate the invite, and I cannot wait to tell some old stories of the old times when it comes to the Chapter 2 days, which feels like literally a long time ago, Panda.
Yeah, honestly, it does, especially with the way that Chapter 3 sped right through last year. Now we're in Chapter 4 already.
Yep.
So we're gonna keep it going, man. Listen, episode 2 of the Fortnite talk show, competitive talk show. I mean, look, this is what dreams are made of right here, Zeke.
I mean, dreams are usually made of friends, and I have two of the best ones right here. So, hey, we're living the dream, and it's great to be here. Let's talk about what we'll be discussing here on the Drop Spot today. We'll be talking a little bit about Surge Week that just got wrapped up. Take a little preview of the FNCS Grand Finals. That's happening this weekend, which don't miss it. And of course, we'll wrap things up with the Community Cups. Maybe just a couple cups here and there we want to mention. But let's start it off. Surge Week. So in case you didn't have a chance to check out Surge Week, it's basically a reboot round style from days of old. It's basically the same thing, right? There's only 5 matches. If a duo gets a victory royale, they go straight to grand finals, or after 5 matches, the duos that end in top 5 also go to grand finals. So kind of that last chance for duos to say, hey, look, I want to continue my FNCS Major 1 run. What do I got to do? Well, victory royale or top 5. Absolutely wild, of course. Some seriously, like, some of the best Fortnite I think we've seen in a while. Sancho, you yourself have casted reboot rounds in the past. What do you think about this weekend?
Oh, man, it's exciting. I love it. I mean, not only it's really cool just to see these bite-sized stories develop within a match, because that to me is what Battle Royale is. It is a ever-evolving story from start to finish. And what I like about the Surge Week is that it's all capsulized into this one moment here where it feels like it is a grand final for these players. And it also, as well, it's a great building step for a lot of these players, not only for their professional careers, but maybe into other fields. Because I was just thinking about watching Surge Week. I remember in the Chapter 2 reboot rounds, Save It. I mean, Save It having this phenomenal run. And I remember everyone, M11 was always saying, can Save It do it? Can Save It do it? Every time he was so close to qualifying, he would always fall off. So when it was up to him in a 2v1 situation, this man was popping heels in the storm, and he just clutches it out. I remember he's throwing stinks down, and we're like, the stinky play. And he was able to win. And the community was just so elated for like a fan favorite like Save It to get their way in, because that's what's so exciting about Surge Week is it's win and get in. And for someone who has been trying to get in for so long, and for Saving to go through, that's what I love about it. It's like those stories stick with you for such a long time.
And honestly, it's really cool that you brought up that particular example, because Surge Week was analyzed this weekend for EU by Save It. Save It came on, hanging out with us in the studio, his first time as an analyst. And of course, he's breaking down Surge Week, one of the many things that he was memorable for in his pro career. So it was super cool to see. But so much happened in Surge Week that it's like, honestly, I was impressed, right? This is every time a Surge Week or reboot style event takes place, it's always super exciting for the audience to watch. It's exciting for me to watch. Like, even as a caster, right? I'm sitting there, I'm jumping up and down on the stage. Like, I'm jumping at the screen. Like, can't believe what I'm seeing, because genuinely it's some of the most exciting Fortnite you get to watch, especially when you have players like Blake and Bizzle, right?
Yeah.
These two honestly have been around since the dawn of competitive Fortnite, and they were here hanging out in Surge Week. And the funny thing is, we start all of Surge Week off, right, in a interview on Saturday with Blake. Blake is like, yeah, man, we're contested. This is going to be tough. I don't know that we can do it through consistency. We may have to really, really hone in on the win, and that might be the only way we walk away with it. Well, in that moment, he might have thought that, but literally they went on to beat Scoped and Visuals off spawn every time to the point where Scoped and Visuals had to move closer to center map. And then they won through consistency. So you never really can have a proper game plan in there.
Yeah.
And if you do, I guess go for the win, and maybe you'll scratch out a consistency placement as well.
Yeah, that's the change, though. I remember, I mean, back in the reboot round days, it was literally just the people that won, and that's it, and they got in. But now, Zeke, you talked about those consistency things, and Panda just brought it up. I think that's a really cool feature as well, because I've seen so much heartbreak before, and I specifically remember Cammy and Seti, or Cammy and Teak, one of those, they were all mixed up, but they were so close. They were the most consistent team throughout their entire run during the reboot round, and then for them to fall short every single time, that right there, I remember in that moment, I was like, the could have, would have, should haves, they were then, and then they were for them to find that glory later on. I think that's really cool, Zeke.
Yeah, I think I think what's super dope about Surge Week is kind of like how it operates. So with the change of obviously the consistency factor, it does allow a duo to kind of show off like, hey, we can be consistent, right? Because if you followed FNCS at all, you know that like you have to be consistent. If you just have like one amazing game and like 4 bad games, you're not going to end where you think you are, right? You have to be able to consistently show I can land on my drop spot.
2 days.
I can. Exactly. It's 12 games, dude.
That's
like
just wild.
So you have to be able to say like, hey, of those 12, I have this many good games that I know can give me the points I need to like get that victory royale to final, walk away with the Axe of Champions, and so like that's what I kind of love that you guys brought that up, because it does give those teams like, hey, I can just win a game, right? Okay. And those might be duos that come in and say like on the day maybe they will win a game in grand finals, right? But there's other side where they're saying, look, we didn't win a game, hey, but we're mad consistent. Y'all better be careful.
Zeke, I gotta ask you a question, because I haven't been part of the broadcast for a while, and I missed the Zekeisms. Where has been the Axe of Champions made this time around? Because I love the moment like it's forged out of the gold of sweats. And like, where is this Axe of Champions coming? Because isn't it like there's some more chrome in this FNCS, or like what's going down with it, man? Fill me in.
There's so many things happening. That would be such a long story. That would just take up the remainder of the drop spot. And trust me, I have been on quite a many. I've been on so many journeys. Honestly,
I know you have.
Maybe that's like a time, like a conversation for another time situation.
Another talk show.
Much has gone. Yeah, another talk show. But yeah, kind of going back to the FNCS for a bit, Surge Week. I like that you also bring up Bizzle. I think for me, that's been the coolest thing about Major 1 is like we've kind of introduced the concept of like interviewing a player kind of going into the competition, and having that chance to just like talk with Blake in those moments. Because for a lot of people, interviews can be difficult. They can be a little overwhelming at times. And I think people just kind of look at an interview and they just think, yeah, I'll just I'll go up in there and I'll say some cool stuff, easy. But it can be a little nerve-wracking. And then to kind of layer on top of that, hey, look, this is that last chance. If I don't get a victory royale or come top 5, I'm not continuing. And so to kind of to get to see Blake in that moment, to be just focused, to be confident, and then literally game to game be like, hey, they're top 10, whoa, they're top 5, they're top 1, this is wild. I think like that's what I love so much about that moment, right? Because we are here to tell stories. We're here to tell stories of the FNCS, of the players, their journeys, and like to kind of get that opportunity to be like, what's up, Blake? And he's like, oh yeah, nah, it's fine, I'm chilling. We need a win. But then they just end on consistency. It's like, okay, man, why not? Like I think for them too is like a nice reminder. Hey, you guys might be old guard, but you guys can still hang.
Yeah, and it's not even just hang, right? Like they're so calm. And we've done quite a few interviews, obviously, throughout this FNCS. We've seen a lot of different, like, varying reactions from players, and some of them you could tell a little bit more nervous going into the day. But Blake was just like, "Yeah, man, we're contested, so kind of just have to go for the win, hope for the best." They're like, "I think we got a good game plan to deal with scoped and visuals, but we'll see." Sure enough, that game plan worked, and they didn't even have to worry about the win because they got it through consistency.
I honestly do think that this kind of meta kind of really benefits players like Bizzle. I mean, the ability to move around the map, have that mobility, especially with the Shockwave Hammer. I think Bizzle's knowledge. I mean, you could go back to tapes and archives of every FNCS. I mean, even back in the World Cup days, everyone was always talking about Bizzle being someone who has a sixth sense about where to move, where to position, and for him to have someone like Blake who has that experience as well. I mean, you could see that it's working out for them. You talked about Surge Week when they qualified in the top 11 in every game, and even having Blake on Bizzle's team, having the second most damage during those tournaments, it works really well for someone like Bizzle who, yeah, you talk about OGs and, as you make it one more year or a revolution on this earth, yeah, sure, you may not have the mechanics to be able to keep up with everybody, but I just really do believe in understanding when to push and when to hold up and all those kinds of things. And one thing that I'm amazed as well, gentlemen, is seeing the players be more aggressive off drop intentionally versus out of desperation. I really feel that in the past Fortnite FNCS, it was always someone doing like contesting somebody that they haven't because they were either pushed out of their own drop or trying to find something new, trying to grasp for straws. But seeing Blake and Bizzle being able to say, this is part of our game plan, it's a completely different vibe that makes me more excited because it's an echoes to what happened in Fortnite Invitational this year or this past couple months ago. Understanding two teams making a choice to fight early, that's what I love, man. That's Battle Royale in a heartbeat right there.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of have those opportunities, like, because you talk about like the meta and keeping up with the meta and stuff, and like for some players, they may feel like they can't, and so they have to supplement, right? Like Fortnite's all about adapting. So if you could say like, okay, we know they're gonna land here and they're gonna do all these things, okay, well let's just go. What are we waiting for? Like if we want to take destiny in our hands right now, why don't we just go take that fight? And for them, that's what ended them in that number one seed, right? They left the day in that number one spot, and so like I think I love that point too, because I think my favorite example is like because I like to talk about like there's a meta, but then tournament to tournament there's a meta within the meta that these players are playing for. Someone like Thomas HD over in EU, if you put a sniper rifle in his hands, he is the scariest and most dangerous player in a lobby. It doesn't matter the rarity, it doesn't matter where he is, it doesn't matter how shambles, he could have nothing but a sniper rifle and he's going to ruin your plans, right? And so for Bizzle and Blake, I think you're right that some of this, the shockwave hammers, even just the way the map is and their drop spot, like all these things combined to really favor them. Panda, do you feel like maybe there's other elements, or do you agree, maybe disagree?
So I definitely think this was a Bizzle season for him to be able to play consistent like that. Now, my question, and I need to personally go recap this from the first 3 weeks, is like, obviously they didn't necessarily get in the top 40 through the first 3 weeks, so they had to play in Surge Week. But then when they played in Surge Week, they did everything right to the point where they should have been in the top 40 the first 3 weeks. So it makes me wonder if like maybe Blake and Bizzle work on team chem, whatever the case may be. Maybe they weren't taking the weeks as seriously, using it more as practice for different things. Because we know Bizzle, right? World Cup days, man, he would just go out there, like he qualified once and then he'd go out there and he'd qualify again, only using like shadow bombs and grenades. And like, so he's definitely the one to take qualifying weeks and play them as a test in how he can kind of adjust throughout this meta. So, I agree. I think this is the season for Bizzle to impress some people and also silence some of the people out there, some of the critics of Bizzle who have been like, yeah, maybe his time has passed. No, sirree, man. From what I saw on Saturday, like he was doing big things.
Oh, for sure. I really do. Chapter 2 Bizzle was always constantly trying to find new teammates. It was always the thing where he slotted into like a Chap type role. Chap, for those who don't know, is another great IGL legend in his own right. And Chap would always find up and coming kind of like really fraggers out there to supplement his IGLing. And Bizzle started to fall into that. But as you can know that this 2023 Bizzle is a completely different, considering that him and Blake here have formed up in Chapter 3 and they're just finding this energy. I feel that in FNCS more so than ever, that chemistry is the biggest thing, and that is why like Cammy and Seti, you could say Teak as well, but those three gentlemen who played together for so long have that chemistry, and I think that's why it's working for them now more than ever. And I hope that all these other players that are, well, even the ones in the other regions, I really do feel if they stick together the longest possible, And that's why if we were not to jump too far ahead, but in grand finals, I noticed a lot of people have their bets on Booga, but Booga's one of those guys that always switches out teammates. So I'm interested to see what he can do, but we'll get to that conversation later in the talk.
I was about to say, I just want to add to that because he brought up Booga. I brought up Booga too in the show here over the weekend, and I got some looks because I wasn't as confident as some others in Booga Peterbot duo. But so we'll definitely have to talk about that.
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. Really quickly, I do want to ask you guys. Obviously, brand new chapter, brand new map.
Yep.
How are you guys finding things? I had a chance to kind of catch up with Levin and Vivid about it. I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts. Like, how are you guys liking the new map?
Oh man, I really do enjoy this map in terms of just the sheer size of it. I think it's a great size to be able to get around the map. I remember my first instance of my first video that I made about it. I was like, it's so small because it was just I could see end to end. But one of the weird things that's been happening to me as a Fortnite player, it just feels like more of a game. Is that a weird way to say it? It's like it's designed to be more of a game versus like a survival type battle royale. I feel like the chapter 2 map was very vast in size and you could get lost on the edges of the world. But in this one, I really love the theme of being a medieval. And if you had to ask me what was my favorite drop spot so far, I loved Shattered Slabs, considering when they had the vaults. Yeah. It's really fun, but the best part of it is those purple rocks. I love those purple rocks. They are so fun. I wonder, Panda, you've been watching the competitive scene a little bit closer than me. Are those purple rocks, are they something or no? I mean, they should be more people using those purple rocks, I always say.
So I agree. I definitely think there should have been more people using them. They've been used a little bit, but only by the people that are landing at those drops. So it's not like something we see them play out, like where they're bringing the rock with them, brother. Boxing it up. That's what I'm saying. Like,
just send them, dude.
Could you imagine?
I can.
Like, hey, I want to take height. Let's just start pickaxing this purple rock and go.
No, hilarious, dude. Hilarious.
No, I think it would. But yeah, no, this season or this new chapter in general with this new map has been pretty interesting. I think one of the things that a lot of people are talking about is the fact that there are now no name or non-named POIs.
Landmarks and things
officially
like that.
Landmarks. Yeah. That they are just honestly more viable than some of the actual named locations. So it's like, it's an interesting map. I remember the first week dropping in, I felt like you said, Sancho, I felt it was small, but then when you actually explore it, there's so much to it. And then
pennies,
and
then small's not a bad thing, bro. I enjoyed the pacing of it, so I could literally get to another POI so quickly. It's always the space between other maps that I always felt like I've taken like chapter 1 days. You ever gone to Pleasant Park and walked south? It took you a long time to get to another POI. That's what I like about chapter's format.
Yeah, I definitely got to agree with you there. But also that movement, whether you're rocking the purple rock or you got the shockwave hammers, like obviously. So I like 2 areas of the map a lot. Breakwater Bay is definitely one of my favorite POIs. Zeke knows that. And then Brutal Bastion is another one of those drops that I really like. But the reason I like the Brutal area is because there's these natural pads that are located all throughout the different areas. All in the snow. So when you look at that north side of the map, like you're basically guaranteed to get pretty solid loot. Now with the 100% Oathbound chests spawn rate, like you can basically land wherever you want in the snow, go for one of those chests, obviously make sure you get whatever loot, and then you're moving, right? So if the zone doesn't pull in your favor, that's fine. You got like 18 pads or however many there are there to just get out and go and do whatever you need to do. So honestly, it's been really cool to see. It's actually probably been one of my favorite maps as far as like iterations of maps in Fortnite history.
Yeah, it takes us back, right, to the maps that have like the different biomes, right? Like I like that. I like that you say you like to basically land like on the northern snowy side of the map. I actually like landing Citadel myself, and that's like kind of on the left side, the more autumn looking space. And I actually like your point too, Sancho, because one of my favorite things, like once I'm done with Citadel, I like to go to Eastern Watch, which is just like obviously the eastern side or whatever. But I like that I can jump down off the waterfall, and it feels like I fall forever. And then I'm just like, a whole new world. Look at this. There's all of this that I must walk around and investigate. Like it is cool. There is so much it feels like there's always a change of pace. It's not like I walk over here, I'm like, oh, cool, another hill, go over that hill, I'm like, oh, is that more hill? Surprise, I'll come around a corner and be like, a little log cabin. Oh, there's a little chest in here. Oh, look at this, there's that, right? Like, there's just so much to explore on the map. So, if you haven't had time, maybe you're out there and you're like, I'm a Frenzy Fields person and I'm never landing anywhere else. Just do yourself a favor. Just pick a spot on the map. Just go there. Just see what happens. You might find that it is a whole new world. I've been playing a lot with Mini Miner, with Vivid, and Jacob.
Oh, I feel so bad for you.
Dude,
so
honestly,
sorry.
It's great for me because the carry is crazy. I actually made this joke to the team we were recently playing. And they were like, so Zeke, what do you bring to the table? And I was like, I'm just Vivid support. And they're like, they kind of like laughed, like, what do you actually bring? I was like, no, I'm Vivid support. I'm the guy that, like, the moment he gets down, I'm running over, I'm splashing. I'm like, yes, come on, get back up. Here's my hammer. I know you have one, but here's mine. Okay, you have two now. Okay, go deal with the problem. There's so many things that I'm doing to just make sure he's good. Like, Jacob's just rolling around. Like, he's the guy that, like, takes party time. You just see him flying in the air, and he's just like, hey, guys, there's a duo over here. There's a trio, a squad here. And he's just popping shots. You're like, what are you doing up there? Like, you're just someone's going to make you have a bad time up there. But, yeah, there's just kind of back to your point. There is I'm enjoying the new map quite a bit. There's just so much to explore.
I mean, competitively speaking, I think what this map does, with the levels of elevation, you have so many opportunities to get surge tags everywhere throughout the map. Compared to other maps, you usually have like 1 or 3 mountains to explore. But this map, you have so many, and that is what I mean. Like, the benefit to have those positions available to more than one. Like, you want to go back to like chapter 2, we could talk about Stark's Industry, right? That big area, one team usually had the best surge for so many areas. You want to go back to the season 3, you had the people exploring the meadows a little bit north of Loot Lake, in that pseudo Loot Lake area. Great place for surge. South of Tilted Towers, great place for surge. But here, you have so many different elevations throughout so many different peaks, the surrounding landmarks and other POIs, that you could find opportunities to it. That is what made Blake and Bizzle so strong, is that Bizzle puts them in those situations, and then Blake literally gets the second most damage during his surge week. So that, I think those are what's going to be interesting to see going forward into the grand finals, is who's going to claim those spots quickly and who's going to be able to navigate that. Because like good old Sundown always said, Zeke, Old Man Mountain always takes a toll. But there's so many of these little Old Man Mountains everywhere that you got to utilize your strengths. And I did see a stat: if you don't have a Shockwave hammer, you're going to find yourself in a very tough position to advance. But I don't think it's because of the ability to go forward with it. It's the ability to go up when you get stuck right one next to those unbreakable elevation.
Yeah, it's funny you said it too, because I'm telling you, I think the same. Every time I see, they cut, we're on a POV, a player POV, they're running around the mid ground, and then we cut to the wides, and I'm like, that's a mountain. I always just can hear Sundown's voice in my head saying that. Old Man Mountain
takes its toll.
Every single time.
Every time.
And I love you talk about this, because let's talk about grand finals. That's actually coming up this weekend, which is wild. I feel like, it went by so fast.
Always does.
It always does. I'm always like, I get that. I'm like, week 1. I'm like, man, all right, we got 4 more weeks. And I'm like, oh, it's grand finals. Where did the weeks go? But I do like that you talked about this. Panda, we've actually already seen some duos on the FNCS, because Sancho, you were kind of talking about elevation and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, some of these duos, they just come in and they make their own. We've seen a lot of duos go in and they basically just make towers. Like, if you used to play Fortnite, I'm talking way back when, that's all you saw people do. They would just 1x1 box straight up, right?
Wow.
It was a metal box. It was like 6 tiles high, and that's what they did. And now we're actually seeing duos bring that back. They're like, well, I don't have elevation, or I know this is going to be like a potential rotation spot for many. We're just going to box up right here. We're going to box up high, and we're going to make sure that you pay us our toll to get into the safe zone, Panda?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. It kind of reminds me of Chapter 1, when we had the porta forts and people would build the structures like the porta forts. They basically go out and they find these hills, or find whatever point that they can get to, right, comfortably, without taking too much damage, of course. And then they just build out. And it's like, literally last chapter, or chapter 2, for example, you weren't using that much material because you wanted to avoid or tried to save some for the end game, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But now they're like teams are just utilizing tons and tons of material there, and it's finally one of those like evolution points in the game, right? Where we see the game go through these different like highs and lows, mechanics changes, pros do this now, pros do that. And so it's kind of interesting to watch it unfold in front of our eyes, because we're going through essentially a new season of Fortnite where pros are adapting, creating new strategies, doing new things that we haven't seen in seasons past.
I mean, I would have to say though, it's you see the foundations of it. I would have to go back to like, you have to look at people like Arkram, you have to look at people like Cammy and Seti, because they always had this notion where they would create like a, if I was on the broadcast team, I would say like a little squirrel hole. You know, that's what they're doing. They're literally making these trees, and all the pots and the big pots, or the big shields and all the minis, all those kinds of things. Anything they find in their area, they throw into the little squirrel hole. Unlike a squirrel, they actually know where they put all their stuff, and now they put it in there, and then they just keep double dipping, and they eat. They're basically, as other casters of the past would say, gargoyling, sitting on top of their one buys, Zeke, and they're just taking shots, and then like, oh, okay, let me just go back down into my hole, take my big shield, and then I'm back up, and now I'm gonna pop some more. So I think that is what we're discovering, is that teams want to avoid Surge more than ever. In the past, it was always, let me just make sure I have like 3 heals to be able to go into that Surge and maybe tank a little bit. But now you're seeing that, well, if I do my homework early, then I don't have to worry about so much being behind the 8 ball when it comes down to that good old purple lightning. So I think like it is a little bit of mixture of old school and new school, and it just makes me so excited that we saw those early things kind of permeating or marinating early in times. I always make this joke, Zeke, is that if I could go back in time, like time cop type vibe, right? Go back in time.
Okay.
With the builds skills that I had now, I would be the best player in the world. Like 100%. I remember back in the day, and you may too, the people that are listening, that we all content creators, and even I myself, said, do not worry about cones. Unbound your cone key. No one needs cones. But imagine if you had that ability, Zeke, to be able to do a cone edit, you would be like a Greek mythology, like a Titan out there in those games. So that's if you ever ask me as an icebreaker, Zeke, what would you do? I would go back in time and become the Fortnite World Cup champion.
Look, I said this to Vivid the other day. I was like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. My skill level now would beat you in the World Cup days. I'm just saying.
What?
I'm just saying.
I agree. I agree.
I'm sorry, Vivid,
Think
but
about
it's true.
Wow.
The evolution of piece control, the evolution of like understanding Surge, all that. That's a factor.
Yep.
It's a fact.
I mean, you know, I think these are good points. These are interesting takes. Some might call them hot takes, and that's fine. I'm here for that. I am not going to say I could be Vivid, because I cannot.
Let us just pretend and dream a dream. I know the grand finals are around the corner, and the real reality is about to set in, that we can probably never compete against these players, but let me just dream, Zeke.
That's fair. That's fair. We can keep the dream going. We can keep that going. But no, I think it's, you know, I like I think the center here is kind of adaptability, right?
Yes.
Like
the nucleus.
The nucleus. I was trying to think of that word.
I got
like,
you.
What's that word? I just said it. You know. Thank you, man. You always know where I'm at in my head. That's great. You know. But yeah, I think the core here is that like players adapt, right? And even the fact that, you know, when the Shockwave Hammer came out, people weren't building high ground high enough.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know you're thinking, what?
Hammer
high ground high enough? It's because Shockwave hammers can go up, right? They can go up a handful of tiles, and they're also destroying everything around you. So if you're actually 1 or 2 boxes high, you're going to have a really tough time. But what we've seen the evolution is that people actually now go even higher. They use more of those materials to stay higher up. So even if you Shockwave up, it is, close. Dude. You remember those? You ever go like max build height, and you're
Always.
like, we're gonna put a single floor here, and we're gonna go all the way in the zone, and no one's gonna know where we're shooting them from. But like that's basically what we're doing, you know. And it is a testament to these players, right? How they find these things, and they're like, okay, this is an issue. Well, how am I gonna solve that issue?
Yeah.
Right. And for them, they just go out and do it. And the people that can do it quickly, they set the tone, they set the meta, and they define the, you know, how. We will continue to watch and see Fortnite evolve.
Zeke, you mentioned, like, you know, we're talking about grand finals, and the team that I always think about height, especially during the EU days, was Queasy. You know, Queasy was the king of height. Like during those times where anytime height was around, no matter who was on his team, Queasy was going to go for it. And now that he has Queasy and Vino are together, and Vino is arguably an up and coming, some would say one of the best in the world. I just think like for them, for being in EU, Panda, I have to say, like, if we had to do a preview for Grand Finals, it'd be my favorite to be able to, you know, at least advance into the next stage.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Remember, this is the first time that a global championship spot is open and up for the grabs. And the biggest story of the weekend will be Queasy and Vino versus Seti and Cammy. There's no question about it. I mean, look, we come off the heels of the Invitational. That final game will go down in history, in my opinion, as of right now, is the most impactful play ever made in Fortnite history. Seti,
it's a great call.
Queasy Vino land on Seti Cammy and just, I mean, changes the trajectory of the entire tournament, right? So watching that moment was so incredible. And I feel like we're going to have moments exactly like that here in this grand finals because, again, like I mentioned before, this is the first time that a player can advance over to the global championships. And remember, with this only being Major 1, there's very limited slots here for these regions. So this is going to be the main story of the weekend. And while before I was leaning towards Seti and Cammy, I don't know. I'm starting to lean more towards Queasy and Vino because, like you mentioned before, Vino is arguably one of the best players, if not the best player in the world right now.
He does so much damage. And like I remember so many stats. Like it doesn't matter what zone he's in, he's gonna do damage to somebody. Like that is there's some players that are better like off drop, off rip. There are other players that are better just surge tags. This dude is better at every single step of the way. But like I mentioned, it didn't start like overnight. This dude grinded his way up to it and failed so many times. I remember there were times where he would have so much pressure on him because he would be that third trio member in a power team, and we're like, well, I don't know. Vino's the question mark. And, you know, for him to turn that around and for him to come off a failure again, you know, literally it was just one shot away from being able to shut down Cammy and Seti, and it just didn't happen for him. I think you're right. I mean, he would be that kind of player you got to look out for. And we always talk about stories, make an interesting show. But Zeke, I just got to say, man, there's just so much pressure on Vino that I think eventually he will turn into that diamond that everybody wants him to be.
So I would actually argue he's there. So I feel like, and like if we highlight that moment at Invitational, right? To me, I almost don't care that they didn't win. What I care about is that they made a call in a moment and they said, this is what our path to winning looks like. And then they just did it, right? Like, even if they won or lost, I don't think it mattered. I think the thing that really like has resonated with me was they were like, we are going to define this moment right here, right now. I'm not going to wait for 25 minutes. I'm not going to sit there in 7th zone and fight them for height again. I'm just going to go fight them right now. And that's what made it so amazing. Like being there in the moment, like people are pouring into the stage. Like this cannot be happening. This is insane. It was wild. And then like, it's over. And in your head, you're like, well, it's over, right? And you're like, we have another 20, still got 25 minutes a game.
It's true.
You know? So yeah, I think Vino's there.
Okay.
And I do think, to be honest, when obviously we have to like take that into account what happened, right? And I think for Vino, that was a moment mentally where it was like, am I actually there? And he kind of wavered, right?
True.
And for him, he has to get back to that place where it's not about, am I good? No, you are good. Your question should be, what am I going to do to just go make sure I win this moment right here? And I think for Vino, he's trying to get back to that place.
It's like a matter of win, you know, like that's what's like Vino's on deck to be the next superstar. I mean, he already is known in EU, but we're talking about what's so great about this FNCS year is like you're going to put yourself on the global stage. I mean, there's always the thing with Booga. I mean, you always will call him the World Cup champion, but for someone to win on an international stage, that will put Vino into that superstar status. And I like it, dude. It's a great story for the EU, and I love seeing that being able to play out again. But you can't forget, I mean, EU is just always a stack region. Like, there's just always someone who has those accolades There's the people like Thomas HG, you know, the Malibucas of the world, you know, who's still running on steam power from the chapter 2 days. But like, I just, that's what I like. It was the reason why I love casting EU back in the chapter 2 with Shio. It was just, you knew that you were going to watch elite gameplay, and you knew that you were going to watch players that did boot camps, that took their like a very serious professional job. And that's what I loved about it. But there's something about NA East that I always enjoy as well. There's just something about, because it's a little bit of that extra. And I love that, because not only that EU is mechanic wise and all that and mental wise, but NA East, it's about, there's mental, but there's a different kind of mental fortitude you need to have if you're going to compete in NA East.
Look, I'm going to say this right now. 2023, the road to and the story of the global championship will be Vino's redemption arc. That's all it is. Okay. That is what we're seeing this year, because you know what is running through his head is that play in that moment where he missed a shot and he went down, finishing in second. Yeah. That is why you've seen such an uptick in performance. While Steady and Kemi have done well this season as well, too, like you can't discredit them at all. Queasy and Vino just feel like they are on another wavelength that we have not seen yet from this duo. So that's why I believe, man, it's going to be an interesting story and an interesting year here for this duo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, we will be following that. Of course, like we can't forget Queasy as well. Just an amazing player. And to pair him up with Vino, yeah, we will definitely, this is something we'll be talking about all year long. Don't even worry about it. If you want a great place to listen, make sure you listen here or FNCS, because we will continue these topics. And of course, don't forget Grand Finals. This weekend, we have all the regions, 7. Make sure that you follow along, because there is going to be winners and people earning spots to Global Championship and every region. Wild gameplay, please. I'm telling you, don't miss out. It's going to be amazing. Let's shift topics. Let's talk about community cups. I wanted to spend a little bit of time here. Because shift away. Let's go. I wanted to take a time, because obviously, you know, we focus in on FNCS, but you know, competitive as a whole, like it's more than just the FNCS, right? There's all kinds of cups happening. There's all kinds of crazy collegiate things happening, and I want to just like talk about that with you guys. I want to start with the Community Cup. It's pretty dope. So it's for basically anyone that wants to compete. They want to like get involved with FNCS, but maybe they're not quite at the, you know, the rank they need to be, or maybe they just still want to make sure, hey, I want to make sure I'm the very best I can be before hitting that level of competition. The Community Cup is kind of where you want to be.
It's a great way to be. I mean, so many great players come from the Community Cups, even the console cups back in the day. Like you would always remember, like, hey, this player won a PlayStation Cup, and now they're here. So that's what's so exciting to see. It's just a way for you to, you know, for me personally, as someone that's quote unquote a content creator, you know, it's fun to dip your toe into competitive and get what it's feeling like to be an in-game where there's a lot more players and a lot more crazy action all over the place. I remember even, you know, Monster D-Face used to run his own thing, and it was always fun just to have raise the stakes just a little bit more. So yeah, I highly recommend Community Cup. It's the same way as the Tester Medal, to see like what you need to improve on. And I always said this, like I always said, my play style never really is a pub play style, and my play style during those times of the building days is never really even a cash cup play style. Mine is a tournament play style. Okay, is it bush capping? No, it's not. That is not what I call it. It's called strategic placements, waiting to strike at the right moment. Okay, so yeah, I highly recommend it. If you've never done it before, I mean, 500,000 players play it, so I mean, it's okay. And hey, if you lose, it's fine, because there's plenty more coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a great time to be a part of the competitive Fortnite scene. So much going on. Like you said, the Community Cup, PlayStation Cups are coming back. Are they just wrapped up? It seems like they're happening every month. I mean, it's really cool to see this stuff take place. The PlayStation Cup in general is again one of those areas where the console community can step up to the plate and showcase what they got. And also we have the console championship cups and stuff. So many opportunities for those console players to step into the spotlight. I mean, look, we've had FNCS champions come from console and win those console cups, go on to then proceed to take the route of getting a PC and so on, and then going on to win an FNCS. So look, the next FNCS champions could be right there in the PlayStation Cup, in the Console Championship Cup, and so on. So it'll be exciting to see what happens, especially with all the regions getting highlighted from Europe to NA East. So I'm super pumped for that. But look, I know that there's one area of Fortnite competitive that is very near and dear to me outside of FNCS, and that is the collegiate scene. So for me,
let's go.
Fortnite Collegiate Cups have been basically my new every month focus, and integrating into the competitive collegiate scene has been a massive undertaking for me and the team behind it. And it has been really exciting to be a part of it. If you don't know, every month we've had a Collegiate Cup here throughout the year. We have one coming up on March 6th, Monday. We had one last month in January. So the January one was a solo build competition so again, any college players out there want to sign up, get involved. But then this one coming up on March 6th is actually Trio Zero build. So again, there's so many different offerings for different people, which is really, really cool to see. So if you're a college player out there, definitely get involved. Also, we got some cool stuff that we're working on behind the scenes, where we're going to a school actually in North Carolina called UNCC, and we're hosting a little in-person thing, hanging out with them. So stay tuned for that. So many cool things coming down the pipeline for collegiate. And between Ben K and myself, we're working diligently with eFuse and others behind the scenes to make some cool stuff happen.
I have a question
Here we
for
go.
everybody here. If I already graduated and I wanted to go back to college, can I compete?
So you can, but you got to be a full-time student. That's the stipulation. So listen,
I'm a full-time dad, so I don't know if I could be a full-time student and a full. Can we add Gamer Dad's Cups? I know people from Epic Games watch. I mean, can Gamer Dad Cup, which we would have to. That would be fun. I mean,
I can see that.
I would probably come in like top 1-2% guaranteed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Top 1-2%. Okay. So SanchoWest Gamer Dad Cup. That's what you want.
Oh, that'd be sick. Oh, I mean, what? Gamer Parent Cup. Let's get everybody, mamas and papas involved.
Everybody. That's right. Everybody can participate.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's just cool. Like there's just so much going on all the time in Fortnite. If in terms of competitive, in terms of cups and FNCS, like there's just so mmany ways to get involved, and I think that's my favorite part. Right? There's just so many things to always be focusing on and looking at. There was like the El Giganten Invitational. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm very bad at words, but that just happened, and that was a trios competition, right?
Yeah.
And it was all run by Copenhagen Flames, sponsored by El Giganten, which is like a big store here.
Oh yeah.
In Denmark, and it's just super cool. Like there's just so many opportunities to like dive into Fortnite, to just compete, to show off what you have, and kind of to your guys' point, maybe for you, you're like, you know what, this competition ain't big enough for me. I need to graduate on up to the FNCS. Like, hey, let's go. We'll see you on the show.
I gotta say this. I mean, I would love to go to do one of these things. What's you guys are over there right now in Copenhagen? What's something that from the store that I would like? I have a sweet tooth. What is something Danish?
Ooh.
That's
a Z question for sure.
Are you a fan of black licorice?
Why not? I am now.
Sure.
Look it up.
Does he know? Does he know?
What's cool about the Invitational is not only it's trios, but it's cool. You see so many people that competed in FNCS. You get to see like them mix up different teammates because of course FNCS is duos. But I love the third-party tournaments because you get trio cups here, solo cups here. And that's what's so exciting is one of the main things as well is like there's always pros looking for other people to maybe mesh well. And so if you do well in these kind of cups, especially the ones that involve other pros, you may be on the like tier 1 stage, so to speak, up there, and you may be running with Abyssal. And that's what's so exciting to see, that Fortnite always presents opportunities from the comfort of your own home to compete. If listen, back in the day, Back in my day, I had to drive to a mall to compete in video game tournaments. And you know what my prize was, Zeke? A $20 gift card to said video game store. And did I win? Yes, because I always win video game tournaments. That is correct. Ah.
So you've always been a gamer dad.
Historically here, Sancho. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you're honestly, you're right. You're right.
Just saying.
I linger in the days where it's like, as a kid, I went to the mall, competed, and did what I could. I historically have not won tournaments, even as a kid. So
step it up.
Unfortunately, I was not winning those old V-Buck cards. But nowadays, I'm still in the same boat. So, hey, I'm here as a commentator, and I'm loving every second of it. So.
Dude, truth be told, those outfit cups, like, you know, like the Creed's one that we just had, and the Flakes one,
Flakes,
they're harder sometimes than the big stuff. Like, I'm telling you, the different strategies that everyone has, you don't expect people to be in weird places. But, man, those cups, I remember the Tango outfit. That one was hard to get because that was the first outfit cup, I believe. Everybody wanted to get that one for free. It was fun.
I'll never forget. There was one. It was the Dreamers Cup. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take it seriously. I got a full team together. Super fun, right? I ended up getting the outfit.
Yeah.
But game number 2, and I get jumped on by Tfue, fried, like just absolutely destroyed.
Yeah,
it was
you won't
by
win that.
Tfue and Zemi and his team, and I was
you won't
like,
win that. You won't win that.
I was like, okay,
brother.
I thought I was doing good. I was feeling really really nice with it. Like we won the first game, but no, listen.
You want to hear a story? I was so close to eliminating Tfue back in the skirmish days. I tell you what, so close. I got third party by Cloaksy.
Oh,
he had his back. He had his back.
Check the VOD.
He had his back. Well, you know, guys, as much as I want to continue talking about things, unfortunately, I know the drop spot has come to a close. At least this episode of it. But we always have episodes coming out. They'll be every 2 weeks. So, of course, wherever you're watching, listening to, make sure you stop on by. Now, before we go, I want to just kind of give you guys an opportunity, final closing thoughts, and, of course, where we can check y'all out.
I mean, I'm excited for this entire run. I love this idea of this great story being built all the way to the global championship. Like that, to me, that is going to be really cool to see. And and we get to see how it started and from start to finish. So kudos to you, FNCS. I will be rooting for everybody on the sideline. It'd be like that one meme that's going around on TikTok. Go Lightning McQueen, go Zeke! That will be me throughout the entire time in my own comfort of my home. But yeah, you can find me on all things SanchoWest. I'll be hanging out, and hopefully we'll have the time to do a watch party for some of these things. But yeah, everything SanchoWest, continuously making content for all, shorts and things of that sort, especially for updates and things and whatnot. I'm always live on Twitch. You could see me there. But yeah, I absolutely love FNCS. I love the competitive spirit, and I love that there's always new stars coming out, but there's nothing like, as Monster would say, the old guard going up against the new guard. So that's what's starting to see, that we get to see it in person on the global stage. So that to me is exciting.
Love it. Yeah, what about you, Panda?
Honestly, always excited to see FNCS taking place. Obviously, it's kind of sad that we're going into grand finals. It's the last week. Like Zeke mentioned, it kind of flew by. But here we are going into grand finals. And honestly, between that and everything going on in the collegiate scene, it's probably been one of the most exciting times for me personally, observing, watching, and being part of the Fortnite scene. So I'm excited to see it continue. But you know what? Listen, Sancho, go take care of this man. Go check him out. He's amazing, incredible, always doing incredible things. And don't worry about me. But Zeke, send it home, man.
I got you guys, of course. Make sure you also give... Yeah, I got you guys. I got the pad right here. Don't worry about it. But make sure you also follow LifeWithPanda because he's also amazing.
Yeah, he is.
Thank you all so much. This has been episode 2 of The Drop Spot. As always, we love you. Keep yourself safe. And we'll see you on the battle bus.
Beep, beep.